Welcome to the Growth with AI podcast, hosted by Integrated AI Services. I'm Peter Martinson, and today's episode dives into how AI is reshaping brand strategy, creative development, and the way agencies deliver value. Our guest is Jeff Litcofsky, COO of Brand Artica, a studio known for helping companies clarify their identity, differentiate in competitive markets, and bring powerful brand stories to life across digital channels. Jeff has been exploring how AI can accelerate creative workflows, strengthen strategic insights, and open entirely new possibilities for client collaboration. Jeff, it's great to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. This is great.
Now, yeah. So tell me, how did you get started doing what you're doing now?
Whoa, there's a question. I actually, oddly enough, I started in a completely different industry. It was consumer electronics audio. I'm actually wearing a hat from the company Boston Acoustics that used to make loudspeakers, and I worked in that space for about 23 years. And it was a manufacturing company, and there was a lot of different departments. I moved around a lot in that space and learned a lot about all these different departments, accounting and sales and marketing. And I ended up in marketing in the end of it. And it really was my lane, right? It was combining. I loved working in the industry because I love music. You can tell I have a guitar behind me, but it was involved music, which was great for me. And then the marketing was, another creative outlet, but there was also a lot of really great organizational and processes that I had to learn and develop that really kind of just brought me into that space. And from there, I left to join a startup for a couple of years, which gave me the insight again to, how do you start a business? How do you go from dust to something that's actually, a product? And we had several products. That was short-lived, unfortunately. It was sort of one of those things, the funding got pulled a different direction for the people who were funding it. And I was left for the first time to figure out what is it I want to do next. And what I realized is I could probably this would be a good time. I'm in my 40s at the time, and this would be a good time to start my own business. And so I started a web development business, and I
Oh,
was primarily building WordPress websites. And I ended up, really connecting with a lot of agencies. And one of the creative people is my partner, Peter Ricciardi, that he was using me as a resource for web development. And we really just hit it off. And then before I knew it, we were talking about, me becoming a partner at the agency. And here I am, partner at an agency, you know, after that kind of long journey. But I took a lot of my experiences with me in terms of operations and also in terms of the web development tech space.
okay, right. So I forgot to mention something else that you also do is you run a YouTube live channel. Can you just give a quick statement about?
Yes, so we have it's actually a LinkedIn Live, and it's an event every Thursday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern time, and it's called "Where the Dogs of Society Howl," and that's a lyric that's in an Elton John song. And we basically it's a live show, so we have a guest on. Usually we have a discussion around, it's around founders, it's around sometimes the CPG space, it's around technology, sometimes it's around just, professional lifestyles and things like that. And it's a very free flow type of show where, the conversation can go anywhere. It's not really mapped out. So sometimes that's good, sometimes it's a little chaotic, but what we're finding is that people really enjoy the show that way as opposed to a standard sort of interview type of format.
Got it.
Mm.
Well, I'll maybe I'll listen in next Thursday if I remember to put it on my calendar.
Awesome.
But back to more of our discussion.
Mm.
So, AI is the big new technology
Yeah.
and that people are starting to implement, and you use that in Brand Artica. So, when did you first start start using that? Because really, ChatGPT is just a hair over 2 years old now.
Yeah.
So
I
when
would
did you
I
bring that
would
in?
say it's been about a year.
Hmm.
Um, and the we started like everyone else starts, you're kinda like, "Oh, I'm gonna make this fun little little image or something." I think it's really evolved, but what is important, I think, for us at least, is understanding, it's a tool in our toolkit. It doesn't replace us. It is simply a tool that we could use, and like any other tool, if I hand a tool to my car mechanic to take my brakes off, I know he's gonna be able to use it, but I have no idea what I'm doing with that tool. But so the realization is that it's really great for someone who knows what they're trying to look for in terms of the prompts, and then also understanding when the results come back, how to look at them and say, I need to edit this to make it more accurate and authentic. And so I think that's what's the big piece is with AI for us is that we can use it as a tool as long as it knows that as long as it gets to know who we are as an agency and gets to know who we are as people, then it's more efficient and effective for us to utilize it if we're using, for example, content creation. But also now, I think what it's morphed into for us too is how can we use it to better understand our clients or potential clients in terms of research. I think that one of the big areas that we use AI right now is doing the research
Hmm.
part of it seems to be a whole lot easier than it was when we were just using Google.
Yeah, yeah. I've I've certainly used it for research, and one of the things I enjoy is telling I tend to use ChatGPT, telling it to look for unusual references or sources.
Hmm.
And I've had it find, newspaper articles, blog articles, that are several years old that I probably would never have found if I'd just been looking on my own. So,
Yes. Another thing too that, and it's only maybe in the last few months with the switch over to 5, is that I always put at the end of it, I say, think hard about this because it will prompt it to give it a little bit more, give it a different model, right? To use in terms of coming up with the result. I think it defaults normally to like an auto. So it decides
mm,
how much performance it wants to put behind your prompt. But but what ultimately for research, you will kind of want it to go a little bit deeper and not just skim the surface like you were saying. So a lot of times at the end of the prompt, I'll add just a few words like think really hard about this.
interesting.
Yeah.
I've never actually tried that. It'd be interesting to do them back to back and
Yeah.
see just how different. Of course, if you do the exact same prompt back to back, you can get wildly different results too.
Well, that's true too. That's true too. And again, I think that just reinforces the statement I was making. The learning part for us was that the result coming back is really you need to look at it. You can't just let it go fly, you know? You have to look at it and it's not just about like it has too many M dashes. It's sometimes you look at it and you say, "No, I not only would I not say that, but it's not even correct." Um, and you have to have that understanding, but I think it really still makes the process more efficient because it's doing a good 70%, of the work.
So, all right. So you talked about using it for for some research and some content creation.
Mm,
Do you use AI with any automation for admin type work for your agency?
yes. So that's an area that, I've been really focused on, I would say at least the last couple of months. And that is, you know, we have a project manager and sometimes we have an intern, sometimes we don't that can help her. But one of the things that I was asking her is like, what assignments would you give your intern normally? And so let's just look at those and let's see if we can make workflows using AI that will do those kind of like the drudgery tasks,
Hmm.
because I want to make her job easier, because then she can focus on the bigger either challenges or just the normal day to day, talking with our internal team and directly with our clients as well. Like, all of that is so important in terms of that communication stuff. I don't want her getting bogged down on changing the Monday board so that the closed items, completed items go to an archive, right? I can automate that for her so that she's not having to think about, oh, now I got to go back to the board and look at all the boards and see what I can archive. And so, yes, so those parts of using AI in terms of workflows are really what I've been focused on recently. And part of that too is just understanding what the capabilities are, not only to help us as an agency, but how can we help our clients with these workflows as well? Because all businesses have like financial stuff they have to deal. They have these parts. They might be completely different businesses, but they have all of these parts and tasks that are the same.
Yeah. And a lot of legacy systems were built when the companies were much, much smaller, and they might have worked back then, but now that the companies have grown, their
Mm.
legacy systems are a pain point, but it's also very painful to change and transition. So
Oh, big time.
you have to convince somebody that it's worth getting to the other side of that hill. And then,
That you
yeah.
hear about this with ERP systems. It's like
Hmm.
it's such a nightmare to move away from one, but at some point in time, there's an end of life, right?
Yeah.
For every kind of system that, there just is. Like, you just don't get support anymore. And at some point in time, you have to make the shift. But then there's also, it's also good in terms of good leadership within a company if they're proactive. Like, if they're thinking about, well, we're going to have to move to something, you know, to higher technology, right? Um, and understanding that that there's other processes or platforms that they could be using. They should be they're looking at it now, even if they
Hmm.
don't want to implement it now. And I think I think that is where things are going right now. Is there's a lot of people looking at these systems and seeing who's using them and are they really helping them out before they actually flick the switch and think about an actual implementation. I mean, that
Um,
process that's usually a long process. And I've lived through that a few times with different platforms for a company. Sometimes it takes over a year even just to train people on a new platform. So it's a big expense. I understand it.
yeah. Yeah. Most of my experience with that has come through mergers where the company that bought you just tells you what you're going to do next,
Right. Right. Right.
solves that whole issue of making decisions.
That's true. That's true. It's forced on you. Yes. Yes.
Um,
Salesforce is one of those that always shows up, the uninvited guest.
yeah, and I've merged and divested a number of organizations into and out of Salesforce orgs over the years, and yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It's a
um,
beast.
but I love it.
Yes.
Um, so I'm curious, like, where have you found the biggest impact to your business
Mm.
from automation or AI? Is there one place that really stands out?
Yeah, I think for us in terms of our content development process, both for our own agency and for our clients, I think it's really it's made that whole process more efficient. And again, I'm not suggesting that, we're churning out AI content, but I think it does open up a lot of new possibilities in terms of content for small businesses, especially once it understands what the brand is all about. It's way more effective and more efficient to get those content ideas
Hmm.
created. And I'm primarily talking about social media, right? So social media always has two parts. One of them is, you create these lanes of content that are on your platforms that you want to share with your community. The engagement part has to be a person. It has to be a person who's the community manager or somebody who's the voice of the brand that's interacting, that's engaging with people in the comments section, that's following other people. But the actual content has to be a good cadence to that. It has to be of interest enough for people to visit the page because there's going to be something new there. And that is always the hardest part for founders, especially or for small businesses, is creating that content.
Hmm.
And if they can use, if they can get the content created and the calendar set up, a lot of times we're already a month ahead with content creation and scheduling it out at specific times that we know are busy times on their platforms. It just goes automatically. We literally create the content using AI and then we schedule it. And it just goes out when it's supposed to go out. And it's up to the community manager to go in and follow up on the comment section. But at least they don't have to worry about that whole part of what am I going to, this is like blog posts on websites.
Yep.
People are like, "Oh, I don't want a blog post because I don't know what to write." But the fact is that blog posts do more than just like you're not just adding content to your site. You're creating new landing pages through search engine optimization. So people are finding your site when you do a blog, whether you call it a blog or not, or it's news or whatever. It's that evergreen content on your site that people are going to find in their searches and they're going to land on your site because of that content. It has nothing to do with your brand, maybe even. Someone's searching for Dr. Smith and they happen upon your blog post that mentions Dr. Smith, and now they're on your site and luckily they have such a short attention span that now they're visiting the rest of your site because of Dr. Smith. Like
Right.
that's the concept behind doing those things. And so content is really important to a brand, especially an emerging brand, because without fresh content, people just get disinterested and then they
So I'm curious, and certainly, you've said that you don't do this, but do you think there's a difference between how LLMs return content that is purely written by AI, by another LLM, versus
mm.
content that is at least edited by a human being? Do you think there's a difference?
Yeah, I think there's
And
a difference between what it gives out and then how it's edited. Is that what you're asking?
well, just whether, if you put content directly out of an LLM onto a
Mm.
blog post, and then you take content and you edit it as a human being and put it on a blog post. I wonder if an LLM, would find those differently or return them differently.
Yeah, I mean it's a hard question because part of it is that it's about to me about any kind of format. It's about setting up expectations. So
Mm.
because people are skimmers. And so like let's say a blog is only as really good as like what the sections are in the content. And so if you establish enough guidelines to I think to what your output's going to be. In other words, if you're not just asking a question, but you're actually telling it how to format it, what to
Mm.
use as data to reference. Um, if you're more detailed in your prompts, I think you could actually just use what it gives out if you're very detailed. But if you're not detailed in your prompt, then I don't think it's usable right out of the gate.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm curious, how do you personally sort of stay ahead of the curve with
Mm.
all the new tools coming out? Because there's so many. Like, how do you
It,
keep up with that?
it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I did land on I had mentioned before we started. I landed on the N8N
Mhm.
um platform, and I've tried other ones, and I find this one to be the best one for me. Um in terms of like, getting into those building these workflows and things like that. And I already had previously had an understanding about like APIs and making those connections and things like that. So that was never really an issue for me, but I could see how it would be for others. But as far as like keeping up on just the general, it's just like anything else, right? So I've subscribed to different, informational like newsletters and things like
Hmm.
that. And I think ultimately it really is like any other technology. And this isn't our first rodeo, right, Peter? Right? Like, so even when I was doing web development, it's a constant learning, right? Platforms change. Even for WordPress, a full version change could mean a whole lot of different things that I'd have to learn. And so I'm already in that mode, right? So I need to keep up on it as best as I can. And it's interesting now because I'm finding myself keeping up on it by using AI. Um, and I'm asking AI to actually give me the information in terms of me to look at, not just to cut and paste, but to look at and see how they did it. And so I think that's where it's different. Even when I'm in the than things in the past is what I was referring to. It's different. Even in the N8N platform, if I run into a problem, I can just ask it, how do I fix this problem? Like
Yeah.
that to me is such a leap from where we were because I would literally be on sites for code to find code or to find different platforms where developers would share their different solutions.
Mhm.
And I would have to do the searches, like the regular searches, like, is this really going to fix my problem? And it could take like an hour, you know? Now I'm asking AI, well, you see the problem, can you fix it? And it's like, yeah, I can fix that. So that's where it gets really interesting, I think, is that even though we're developing AI technology using technology, AI, but we're also using it to kind of correct some things that we might have done wrong ourselves. And sometimes it's just like, I'm filling in the fields and I'm thinking I'm right, but it doesn't work. And I'm like, well, what did I do wrong? And then I learn from that, right? So it's teaching me too.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I've had it clean up some Python code for me, and it can do a nice job. It can also get it wrong, and you're like,
Yes,
why am I getting these errors? And so,
right.
but it's another really, really fast resource before
Mm,
you go and find an actual developer who, if you're doing it at 11 o'clock at night, you're like, well, I'm not going to call him because,
yes. No, I mean, this is what I was saying about the tool, right? So you could hand me the tool, I could watch YouTube videos of do it yourself thing, right?
Mhm.
I could do that all day long. But if I don't understand it, like it really isn't the same, right? So I think if you have a general understanding, especially for development, and you're entering into this, learning phase, which is basically where I think I'm still am. I'm not like an expert on this, but I'm absorbing enough stuff and I'm understanding as I'm absorbing. I think that's where it's really amazing how it almost supports itself, right? So the AI is helping you learn AI. So,
Mhm.
and that's why I think it's really cool for me because it's a new kind of realm for me beyond web development. Obviously, had to learn different things, PHP and CSS, and you know, you know, a lot of just, that space I've absorbed as much as I could over years of work, um, trying to get ahead of the curve, like you were saying. And I think it's going to be the same process with AI. I don't think it's not really like a shortcut, but it's sort of
Yeah.
like I think it's the same
Um,
process. There's no real like you can't snap your fingers and then learn AI. It's just you have to get in there into the trenches and really just, experiment.
Absolutely. I think that's a great place to start wrapping up. Before we go, though, what do you want someone who might hire you to know about you and your agency?
Yeah. I mean, Brand Artica is really it's Peter, Jude Ricciardi, and myself are the partners at the agency, and we have a small team. And really, what makes us kind of different than other marketing agencies is that Peter and I are front facing for the client. So you work with the two of us. We both have the skill set in terms of having done all of this stuff ourselves before. And I think if you're a business that is looking to either do something different in your space, in your category, or you're looking to like break out of a local or regional foothold and possibly go national, right? Really scale your business, and you're looking for to do something different in terms of your brand identity or your web experience. I think we're a good fit. I think that's kind of our sweet spot is, brands that are looking not only to do something different, but they're looking to grow. And sometimes businesses are in different spots when you when you say scale, but I think we're still effective even if you're a local business and you're looking to get in and develop within a region. And if you're a regional business and you're looking to go to another region or go national, I think that's kind of where we can help you.
Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you for that. And this has been a great discussion. I've certainly appreciated talking to you.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah,
It's great.
and maybe we'll get you back in a year or so and see how things have changed.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank
All
you.
right. Take
Bye.
care.